What is up, everybody? It is Dapper Dan here, and today I'm going to be showing you guys a new team that I've constructed for. I've been using it just to climb the ladder, but it's a pretty solid VGC team from what I could tell. Now, the good part about this team is that it has a couple of different modes that you can run with it, so you don't necessarily have to be locked into one specific lead or even running the team in a specific manner. It actually really gives you a lot of flexibility, so I'll go ahead and cover that a little bit here. So, right off the bat, we're going to be looking at the first two at the top, Hatterene and Didi. These are typically going to be ran together, as obviously you get the expanding force, size spam, and then you also get access to Trick Room if you need to. Now, with this combo, Hatterene is going to be the priority damage dealer, having Magic Bounce and Life Orb, and you can also use Hatterene as a counter to any specially attacking Pokemon using Mystical Fire, so you could just completely keep dropping their special attack every turn. Now, Indeedee is just going to be a pretty standard Indeedee set, running Expanding Force, Follow Me, Helping Hand, and Safeguard. I run a Culver Berry on my Indeedee because right now Rillabooms are in almost every single game that I run into, and Rillaboom, with this specific Indeedee setup, which I know it has some special, some defensive investment, can almost one-shot, if not, it can one-shot it every time. So I run that berry just so we can at least survive one knockoff and not have to worry about things too much. Now, Rillaboom is going to be our next one. Rillaboom is just kind of a standalone monster. Rillaboom's on every team. He's arguably one of the best Pokemon in the game right now. And he's just running a pretty standard set of Fake Out, Grassy Glide, Knockoff, and Drain Punch with Assault Vest. Lapras is running Weakness Policy with Water Absorb, so we get that water immunity. And we also got Freeze Dry, Hydro Pump, and Thunderbolt and Protect. Now, with Lapras, if you can also lead with her, and what you can do is you can lead Lapras, Dynamax, and go straight into G-Max Resonance, so you can get that Aurora Veil off, getting the reduced damage for the next 5 turns of the game. Weakness Policy is just so much better, in my opinion, than running like Light Clay on it, because most of the Pokemon are going to want to go for a Oko on Lapras, but Lapras is fairly bulky, so there's not much that can actually Oko it. Now, the last two here is going to be Terrakion and Whimsicott. This combo is another starter, or another lead that you can use. It's fairly simple, not too complicated. What you're going to do is you're going to run Terrakion with Rock Slide, and you're going to use Whimsicott with either Beat Up or Tailwind turn 1. Now, that kind of varies depending on what you run into. Sometimes if there's something that's threatening me immediately, I'll go Tailwind first, then go Rock Slide and hope for the flinch. If not, I'll go Beat Up, and then I'll go Tailwind turn 2. So altogether, you have 3 different leads that you can run with this game, whether it's Hatterene and Indeedee, Lapras and either Whimsicott or Indeedee, or Whimsicott Terrakion. Now, the reason I like this team so much is because you can run it under Trick Room or under Tailwind. Either way, this team's really going to thrive. Rillaboom is mid-speed because he's just bulky attack, so he really is not going to mind too much since he gets priority from Grassy Glide anyways. And then Lapras is kind of in that sweet spot where if you give it Tailwind, it outspeeds most things, but if you put it in Trick Room, it's also going to outspeed most things in Trick Room. So that's the team. I have the rental code right down there if you want to try it out for yourself. We're going to jump right into it and see a couple of the games, and if you guys like it, go ahead and try it out or leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. Anyways, let's jump into it. Alright, so we're jumping into our first one here. I think I may have forgotten to get the beginning, but we're starting off with Whimsicott Terrakion. So here we're looking at us against Sandslash and Ninetales, so they're running a Hail team. Looks like, so I'm going to go into Rock Slide here. Now the question is whether we want to go into Rock Slide and then go for either Beat Up or Tailwind. In this case, it's looking more like we're going to go into Tailwind because we want to make sure that we can try and get off our Rock Slide successfully. Now Whimsicott gets off the Tailwind, so no Fake Out pressure there. And now we get our first turn with Rock Slide, so we get to almost Oko the Ninetales, which is phenomenal for a turn 1. hangs on with Focus Sash, and unfortunately here we get triple axle, but we do get the miss, so that is fantastic. Now they do get Aurora Veil up, unfortunately. However, Aurora Veil at this point isn't going to help them out too much since we already have Tailwind up, meaning that we can go ahead and we can be free to beat up into our Terrakion to get that attack boost. So we're going to beat up and Rock Slide right into those Sand Slash and Ninetales. Now, this combo is always one of my favorites just because it's so good for catching those, for kind of just covering all options. I mean, Terrakion has such a high speed that really anything you throw it up against in Tailwind, it's going to outspeed unless they're also running Tailwind. So right here, we do get our beat up off since we're outspeeding the Sand Slash, which is crazy to think that we're even outspeeding the Sand Slash in Slush Rush, but I guess it kind of makes sense being that we have Tailwind up. So there we go, getting our +4 attack on Terrakion. Now we get the Rock Slide off, and it looks like we don't get a miss on either of them, which is phenomenal. That's exactly what we want to be seeing coming from Terrakion, because if we're getting a Rock Slide and hitting on both, that means it's less of a chance for our Terrakion to get taken out, especially now that Whimsicott is kind of just chilling. He's already done his job. He got Tailwind up, he got his beat up off. Now he's kind of in a good spot where Whimsicott can kind of just sit in the back and spam a little bit more damage if he needs to. So they're going to go in with Serena here, and they're also leading in with, or not leading in, but they're going in with Inteleon. So we're going to go ahead and just get some chip damage off with both of them. Since we're going to be moving first on both accounts, might as well just go in and try and get as much damage in as possible. Alright, looks like they're taking their time trying to figure out a way around this. They're going to Dynamax, and yeah, looks like they're Dynamaxing there. I believe it's their Inteleon in this case. Yep, alright, so they got their G-Max Inteleon coming out. Honestly, I think Inteleon has one of the cooler G-Max forms. I mean, Rillaboom's is pretty cool too, but I would say his is definitely better than like Cinderace's, for instance. Anyways, we connect and we miss on the Serena with our Rock Slide, which is super unfortunate because we really needed to hit that Rock Slide on both, but we go down with Terrakion. Now, I'm not surprised there. Terrakion is pretty frail. He is definitely a glass cannon, to say the least. So I'm not surprised at all that he died from that G-Max attack. Alright, so Whimsicott's attack goes down. Not really sure why they're using that move, but they just seem to be kind of... I think they end up using that move pretty repeatedly here. So now we're looking at what we're going to switch into with Terrakion. So we already have our Tailwind set up, and now we have some options here. So what I'm thinking here, going in with Hatterene could be a good idea. So can Lapras, because Lapras gets a weakness policy. But I'm thinking in this case, Hatterene might be a better choice. Let's see if my my future mind thinks like my past mind. Okay, so it looks like we actually lead in with Lapras. Now, I think the reason why I hesitated there was I was trying to think if we should go in with Hatterene and then swap onto the Lapras to get the water nullification up for that churn. However, I figured no, might as well just lead in, no having to swap or do any reads. Makes things a little bit easier. It would have been a flashier play to go for the read, but yeah, I figure at this point we might as well just play it safe and just try and secure the win best we can. So right over here, we're going to go ahead and G-Max Resonance into the Serena so we can get that super effective damage coming off. Now, this is again where Lapras kind of shines, because Lapras is really going to get the opportunity here where if she gets a fighting move off on Lapras, we get our free weakness policy. It's not going to do hardly any damage to us, and then we can start smacking things for a much, much greater amount than they can. So we get our Dazzling Gleam coming off, which KOs the Inteleon, which is perfect. And Teleon was hanging on by a thread, so it's a good thing that we're able to get rid of that turn 1. We don't have to worry about pressure from him. And now the G-Max Resonance is coming off. Now, this is also one of the reasons why I kind of think Lapras has to have a weakness policy with them, or at least I think it's one of the best options you can have. Being because with weakness policy, like as here you can see, the attack, even from a G-Max Resonance, wasn't that much. But we get the weakness policy, and now that G-Max Resonance is a lot scarier than it was last turn. So this, I think we can pretty much already consider it a win. It's 3-1, and we have a G-Max Lapras, and we have our and we have a Aurora Veil set up now. So this game is pretty much over. There's not a whole lot to think about here. We're pretty much just gonna go ahead and just go for double spam again. That way we don't have to worry about anything going awry in this situation. If this person's smart, yep, they will cancel the battle because there's pretty much no way that they can win in that situation. Alright, looks like we found a trainer, and we're going to be going up against rank 20,756. And looks like we're going up against a little bit of a tough team here. We got Haxorus with Incineroar, a Gardevoir, and we got a Excadrill, Gastrodon, and Whimsicott. So here, what I'm thinking is Whimsicott could be a pretty good lead in this situation because it looks like they're going to be running mostly offensive type Pokemon. Like they're going to be trying to put off a ton of offensive pressure with Excadrill and Haxorus. So we're going to lead with the same lead that we went in with last game, being Whimsicott and Terrakion. Now, let's see. Looks like we're going for Lapras as the third option again here. Again, I'm telling you guys, Lapras, super solid pick when it comes to using weakness policy, and Lapras in general, just getting that water immunity with Water Absorb. Super, super solid pick. Now, the last option here is kind of left up to things. I go Rillaboom here because we do get the 4 times effective on the Gastrodon. We can also hit Excadrill for super effective, and we can hit Gardevoir for super effective. So it's a pretty good option in my opinion. I think Lapras was the obvious choice here because if they go Haxorus in that case, Haxorus can be a pretty tough Pokemon to deal with if not prepared properly. And getting that ice and getting the ice attack with Freeze Dry or G-Max Resonance, that will definitely prove to be useful against any Dragon type Pokemon, honestly. So we're jumping into it. I think our player card's a little bit better, just a tad. So we got Skrillex over here, and he leads with Whimsicott and Incineroar. So overall, yeah, it's not great for us because we do get a -1 attack drop on our turn 1, which is not too much fun. But overall, it's not a huge deal. What it's actually going to kind of come down to, I believe, if I remember this correctly, I believe it comes down to a speed tie here. Because it's my Whimsicott versus their Whimsicott, so we kind of have to see whoever gets it off first. So Tailwind won't matter too much, but if we go for a Taunt, then Taunt's really going to make a difference in this game. All right, so we get faked out by the Incineroar, which is actually not too big of a deal. Now we get the Rock Slide off here, so this is where things start to get interesting as we already almost take out their Incineroar. He's already beneath half. We're going to go ahead and Rock Slide. Now at this point, if this Whimsicott was smart, they would already come prepared with Taunt, just because, I mean, I sometimes will run Taunt like this this Whimsicott in this set has Taunt. But there definitely is some other options that people will run with it. And we already know it's not a switcheroo Whimsicott since we already got did damage, so that's not something we have to worry about. So we get the Tailwind up. That is perfect. They get Moonblast off, which not actually going to be too big of a deal. Yeah, it does chunk out Whimsicott a little bit, but already Whimsicott's already technically done his job. Whimsicott on this team is primarily just kind of like a Tailwind spam or beat up spam. Aside from that, he doesn't really have too much to do. Once he gets that either one of those off, he can kind of just sit there and just keep dealing chip damage or taunting away just to kind of annoy the opponent. So he's actually pretty much already done what he needs to. If we get a beat up off also, then even better, but not necessary in this case. All right, so we see the Haxorus coming out now. Now we're gonna go ahead and just start dealing a little bit of damage here. So looks like we're gonna go in with the Dazzling Gleam and contemplating going with the Dynamax. Now, in my opinion, for the most part, I don't typically like to Dynamax Terrakion too much. Mostly just because he is, even when we run Dynamax with him and he has full Dynamax levels, he still kind of is frail. Since he's max attack, max speed, he is definitely a glass cannon. So I'm contemplating my life right here, deciding on what we're going to do, and I believe I end up just deciding to go with Rock Slide. Our good old-fashioned Rock Slide, good old reliable. Let's see. So they go, and they're going to Dynamax their Haxorus. Yep, okay. So they got the Dynamax on Haxorus. Now, this can be kind of a dangerous situation for us because we do have Rillaboom in the back, which is a physical attacker, but we also have Lapras, which is a special attacker. So this is actually the best case scenario right here because yes, our Whimsicott and our Terrakion might die, but at the same time, oh, I think it's our Whimsicott that. Yeah, so their Whimsicott avoids the Rock Slide, which really, really kind of sucks because we could have just got the cleanup kill on him right there. And Terrakion goes down. Like I said, he's kind of made of paper, so he's definitely not going to eat a Dynamax hit and survive. But this actually presents us with a very good opportunity here because now we get the free switch in to both of our other Pokemon. So we get the switch in on Lapras and Rillaboom. And Terrakion and Whimsicott already did their job. Terrakion was able to get rid of the Incineroar, which was a big threat with his Intimidate. And, I mean, Whimsicott's 1 HP now. So, we're in a pretty good spot, I would say. We get Grassy Surge up, which is perfect. And, alright. So, now we're looking here. You get to see another G-Max Lapras again. We're going G-Max Resonance right into Haxorus. And here, the only job that Rillaboom really has to do in this situation is Rillaboom needs to kill the... he really needs to kill this Whimsicott. That's his only real job here. So we're going to go ahead and G-Max Resonance into Haxorus, and we're going to Fake Out into the Whims. Now we only go Fake Out because with everything else that Whimsicott has at its disposal, and it could be a max speed Whimsicott. If that's the case, then it'll definitely be able to take priority over us unless we Grassy Glide. But Grassy Glide, I think it would kill in this situation, but I think just to be safe, we want to disable it for a round so it can't do anything. Because the longer we keep it around on low HP, it is good because it forces them to either switch and waste a turn or forces them to do something to kind of waste it. Now, we also did that because some Whimsicotts will run Charm, and running Charm on Whimsicott is definitely bad for our Rillaboom. Alright, so he gets his Max Wyrmwind off on us. Not a huge deal. I mean, yes, we get the attack drop, which is not great. But here we can definitely go ahead and we're going to get our G-Max Resonance off so we start getting the reduced damage. That does a pretty decent chunk of damage, honestly. I mean, they're already almost dead and they just G-Max 2 turns ago. No, not even 2 turns ago, 1 turn ago. So things are looking pretty good right here. I'm fairly optimistic. Now, at this point, they bring out the Gardevoir. Now, Gardevoir in this situation is going to be a little bit, not too much of a threat, to be honest. I know most people that run Gardevoir don't run them as an offense. They usually will run them as an Imprison set. So, in this case, we can just go ahead, and I think we have the advantage here, because I believe that they got... Yeah, they got Tailwind off turn 1, and we have Tailwind still, so I think they're either out of Tailwind this turn, or they're going to be out next turn, which means we get a whole extra turn lead on them for it. Alright, so we're running out of time. We got to make a decision here. So we're going to Max Geyser into the Haxorus, and we're going to Grassy Glide into the Gardevoir here. So does a fairly good chunk of damage with that Gardevoir, or with that Grassy Glide. Now this attack is obviously going to have that reduced damage since we already got our Aurora Veil up. Yeah, we get another attack drop, which is not good, but really not impacting our Lapras a whole lot. Like at this point, our Lapras is fairly tanky. We already got our we're about to have Rain up, and we're already going to have our priority move with Grassy Glide. So overall, we're in a very, very good spot here. Like everything, we pretty much have the terrain and the weather all set up in our favor. Now here gets a Dazzling Gleam off, does literally nothing to Lapras and Rillaboom. Man, that Assault Vest Rillaboom is just such a good set. Like it's just, oh my gosh, every time I use it, I'm reminded why it's so good. So right here, I mean, we kind of have every option at our disposal at this point. Pretty much anything we throw at it is going to kill this Gardevoir, so there's really not a whole lot that we need to worry about. I mean, at this point, we pretty much have this in the bag. Yep, battle was canceled. That is another W for this team. Man, I'm telling you guys, this team, amazing. It does so good in pretty much most situations. All right, we found our next trainer. We're going against Bowden, or rank 16516, and they're running Indeedee, Venusaur, Whimsicott, I forget her name, Terrakion, Cinderace, and why am I for Primarina? That's her name. So here in this case, our Terrakion Whimsicott, it's looking decent. The only thing I'm kind of worried about with this other team is if they go Venusaur, then well, they don't really have any Sun to set up either. So yeah, I guess there's nothing here that's really going to be threatening us, to be honest. I mean, if they had Torkoal, I'd be a little scared here. But I do know I am going with the Hatterene in this case, just because the Hatterene going up against that Primarina and that Venusaur will pretty much be able to sit there and just keep reducing their special attack. Same thing with Whimsicott and Indeedee. They're a very special attacking team, which for us, Hatterene will be a very good answer to that. The only physical attackers they have here is their Terrakion and Cinderace, which, I mean, not gonna get too much synergy with those. It actually looks like I decided last minute to go away from the Hatterene and just run with what I know. I mean, something's not broken, why fix it? At least in this case. Alright, so they lead Cinderace and Terrakion. Now, this is a very interesting matchup here, because they don't really have any like defensive pressure. They're all offensive, which for us is great because there's no fake out, there's no tailwind, there's no follow me, there's nothing that we really have to worry about. We can kind of just go in with tailwind and rock slide and just hope we get hits on both of them every time. And again, our Terrakion is choice banded, so unfortunately in this case we will be locked in a rock slide with him, which Terrakion does resist, but really not going to make too much of a difference in this case. Alright, so they're going for the Dynamax on their Cinderace, which is kind of strange that it's not a G-Max Cinderace, it's just a standard Dynamax, but oh well, not complaining in this case. So we get our Tailwind up. That is perfect. And we get our Rock Slide in on both. Now that's just a big chunk on Cinderace, doing almost 75% of the damage right off of the bat. And oof, this is not going to feel good for our Terrakion. Now, like I said before, Terrakion, he's made out of paper mache. He looks big, tough, and strong, but in reality, pretty much anything will OHKO him. Oh, sorry about that. Anyways, so Terrakion goes down, and they got the close combat coming out onto Whimsicott. Now, I'm not really sure why they go for close combat of all things, when they definitely could have went with something like Iron Head, which would have been much better. But, oh well, I am not complaining. Looks like we're coming right out again with the Lapras. Now, this is another one of those things that I really, really appreciate about Lapras is, in my opinion, a very good counter to Cinderace. Now, the reason being is there's no moves that Cinderace can learn that resist water type. So, in general, water typing against Cinderace, which, I mean, it seems obvious because he is normally a fire type, it is honestly one of the best typings because most of the moves that most Cinderace run are not going to resist water. I don't even think there is any that resist water, in fact. Alright, so we're Dynamaxing our Lapras again. Turn number 3. So you're really getting to see the power of the Lapras in this in these matches. I mean, it's so good defensively and offensively. It's kind of hard to justify not bringing it. And look at that. Our Whimsicott, max speed, max special attack, gets the OHKO, or not an OHKO, but gets the KO on the Terrakion. From like 75% too. That's pretty good. Alright, so Cinderace here now is just going to start going for, he's just going to start going for defense boosts. However, for us, we really don't care about defense boost because we're Lapras. We don't care about defense or attack. So things are looking pretty good for us here. We managed to get rid of both of their lead Pokemon. We got rid of their Dynamax in 2 turns. We have our Rain set up, and next turn we can get our Gmax Resonance off, so we get our Aurora Veil, and we still have Whimsicott in the game too. Meaning that we still have options here where we can actually still go in and we can start taunting, so we could even taunt this Indeedee here. We kind of have a lot of flexibility as to what we can do, but in this case, taunt will actually not work because we are in Psychic Terrain. So something to keep in mind, but I'm fairly certain I actually forget about that fact here. So we go Gmax Resonance into Venusaur, and I believe here we try to taunt the Indeedee, unfortunately. Let's see if I make the mistake. I'm contemplating it. I'm thinking about what might be better here. Dazzling Gleam for some damage, or taunt. And unfortunately, oh no. Oh my gosh, yeah. Okay. Yep. I went for the taunt, which unfortunately not going to help me in this situation. Yep. Protected by Psychic Terrain. Oh man, feels bad. Either way, we get our Gmax Resonance off onto the Indeedee, which means we still get our reduced damage from them. So, I mean, any way we flip it here, we're in a very good situation. The Sleep Powder here, man, that sucks. One of the worst things, again, put to sleep by a Venusaur right when you're in your Dynamax. Now, we already got both of our first turns off. We already got the Rain set up, and we got our Aurora Veil. So it actually kind of doesn't really matter if we waste our 3rd turn. I mean, yeah, the extra damage definitely would have been nice, but it's not the end of the world, so to speak. So I think here I'm contemplating whether I should swap out on the Lapras or not for the Rillaboom, or whether just to leave the Lapras in and to tank some hits. Now we do swap out the Whimsicott for the Rillaboom in this case, and if I remember correctly, like I said, my past Daniel is much different than future Dan, And in this case, I believe the reason I swap out is because if they do end up killing my Lapras, then I still can swap back in and get another Tailwind off with Whimsicott. So Whimsicott's value is extended even further. So that, oof, that hurts right there. And that Expanding Force is laughable, to say the least. I mean, it is doing no damage to Lapras. I'm pretty sure we gained back more health than what the Indeedee did to us there. Our Tailwind peters out. Yes, so this is exactly why, now that I think back, this is why I swapped out the Rillaboom for Whimsicott, was because I wanted to keep that Tailwind in the back. So in this case, we're fairly limited as to what we can do. We have Fake Out on the Rillaboom, so we can always just fake out the Venusaur for a turn, just to make sure that we're not going to get spanked by their Venusaur for a huge amount on the Lapras. Alright, and then Indeedee goes for the Expanding Force. That's totally fine, because Rillaboom is a beast. He's going to eat that up for breakfast like it's Cheerios. We get our Hydro Pump off. Oh man, this is going to deal some damage. Or not that much. It dealt a good chunk. I'll say that was a good quarter, a little bit more maybe. But, oh man, Indeedees are just so specially defensive that it is kind of difficult to get rid of them. Alright, so we got our Grassy Terrain healing here. And now we're kind of just free to do what we need to. So, at this point, we're just going to knock off into Indeedee. Because Indeedees, as everybody knows, they are particularly frail to physical. And when it comes to knockoff with Rillaboom, that is a move that just absolutely decimates people. And in this case, Rillaboom's going to move first. Which is, oh, well, doesn't move first, but he moves before Lapras, which is what actually matters. Now, we survive with 10 health and get poisoned. Unfortunate, but also kind of perfect timed as well. The reason I say it's perfectly timed is because now we can get the free swap into Whimsicott to get our Tailwind off once we die from poison. So right here, we get our Freeze Dry off. And we get the freeze on the Venusaur. Oh my gosh, this luck is insane. Okay, and they also had a weakness policy on their Venusaur, so yeah, their Venusaur, yeah, he may have gotten his weakness policy procced, but does it really matter in this case? I don't really think so. Now, it actually looks like Rillaboom's going to survive for another turn here because we got that grassy terrain healing. Oh, nope, it still died, even with 20. I always thought it deals 1/16, which I figured would be under, but I guess not. I guess I miscalculated that. Either way, not terrible. We get our Whimsicott in, and now this game is pretty much won. I mean, we can just pretty much just deal damage, or we can just Tailwind and then make sure, or we can ensure that we get first turn every time. So we just go for the easy option, the safe play here, which is to just go ahead and Tailwind, get our Freeze Dry off. This is just ensuring that every turn the Venusaur is not going to be going first and that we can go first. So at this point, this game is pretty much won. There's not anything this Venusaur can do. He's frozen. He's at 1 HP. He's in grassy terrain. It's not looking good for him right now. So now we just make the obvious choice here. We just double up into him. It's time for this Venusaur to go bye-bye. Even that was not enough to kill it. Man, that is insane how bulky it is. And the Freeze Dry ties up the game. So that was our third round. Man, this Lapras is putting in work. Just destroying everything. So that is it for our episode today. I hope I was able to showcase this team and in all of its glory to really show you guys how good it is. Now, I do have the rental code up, so you guys can try this team if you would like. Go ahead and try it on the ladder, and let me know below how you're doing with the team. If you like it, if you need some changes, drop it in the comment section down below so I can update the team if needed. Now, like I said before, if you like this team or like the video, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe on this video. And if you like what I'm posting, go ahead and click that bell notification underneath the video so you guys can see when I go live or post new content. Now, again, it is Dapper Dan. It has been a pleasure having you guys on the video. And I hope you guys enjoy the next one. Take care.